So we'll start now. Yeah, today's reading session, we will be reading about Sri Ramchandra's Rajayoga, its principles and practices. It is a talk delivered by revered KCV in Allahabad on 15th September 1966. It's a public meeting he is speaking. So we'll go through the talk. I am very grateful for this opportunity of meeting you all and for the opportunity of exchanging a few of my thoughts in the presence of my master. My sadhana, the evolution of my sadhana, which started nearly 45 years ago, is an important event in the life of most of the young men. I belong to the first movement of non-cooperation. My activities then made me think of our aims, this country's goals. And I remember arriving at my own axiomatic thought that through spirituality alone can this country be raised. My very first attention was drawn to the work of Swami Vivekananda and naturally to his Guru and Master Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Then rapidly it was shifted to the thoughts of Swami Ramatirtha when his books came to me where I was. I then spent some of my time between spinning and yoga. Then I came across 7 volumes of Sri Aurobindo's Arya. It was an event of very great importance. Sri Aurobindo's language and thought are some of the most difficult for most people. I read, or rather drank, those volumes of the Arya. As I said, Sri Aurobindo's language is very difficult. It is couched in an obscurity of style, which is difficult to follow, but not so for me. His style was no bar to me. I feel even today the remembrance of those 7 volumes. Then I went on to study philosophy in college. It was my good fortune to have had some of the most advanced and fundamental thinkers of those times as my teachers. They also enabled me to get a thorough grasp of the Western philosophy. Then Sri Ramanuja attracted me. I spent a few years on the study of Sri Ramanuja's metaphysics and his theory of knowledge. In this connection, I must mention one small incident which gave me great conviction. It is unusual for a man equipped with Western methods of philosophy to do research on Sri Ramanuja. I was attempting this, and I had consulted an astrologer whether I would make good headway in my research on Sri Ramanuja. I then asked him how this prediction would come. I then asked him how this prediction would come true when I couldn't find anybody even to teach me the Sri Bhashya. Surrender to Sri Ramanuja, he said. I took him at his word. I quietly stood up and prayed to Sri Ramanuja to help me in the work. That surrender had immediate effect. It was my very first experience of surrender to a man, and that too to one who had lived about 900 years ago. He began to operate immediately, and in such a way, I will tell you, I wrote my first paper on Sri Ramanuja after 10 months of research work. A great savant read it and said, "What it took me 20 years to learn, you have grasped in 10 months. And he added the very important sentence, you have the grace of Sri Ramanuja. Now you see, this was a natural contact with such a great seer. Such surrender to a person we have not even seen is perfectly possible. This is a point you have to remember. So this is a practical point. So people who have not seen Babuji, it is possible for everybody who have not seen Babuji to surrender to revered Babuji Maharaj. That's the point I want you to make a note of. I could say nothing is impossible if you can devote yourself to great rishis of yore by true surrender. Later, I went on to several other things and on to other great saints of South India to get their guidance. Finally, in 1954 December, at a most important moment, at a crucial moment in my life, I came across a book, Reality at Dawn, by Sri Ramchandra, who is here a great personality. I found in that book a deep and profound spirituality and a willingness to experiment. Unlike the other books and philosophies, here was one that was not burdened and laboring under dogma and other things. It was full of spirituality of the highest order. The system of Sri Ramchandra's Rajayoga, which it expounded, was discovered, or rather rediscovered, by Sri Ramchandraji of Fatehgarh. It is due to his great master Sri Ramchandraji of Fatehgarh that he, Sri Ramchandraji of Shahjahanpur, has been made to develop and carry out a forgotten technique of transmission. This is a technique of awakening in each individual the spiritual force that is in him by transmitting into his body that highest ultimate force of the divine. That was my first contact with this unique system and with Sri Ramchandraji, my master. Younger men are fortunate in getting this contact at a much earlier age, but the great thinkers of the past have really contributed to my makeup. They have been responsible for keeping my aspiration for reality awakened in a state of awakening. Though apparently they have stated different positions or aspects, all such differences and barriers are taken away. In my case, I had no confusion, no difficulty. On the contrary, I found an integrative process taking place, and I could enter into each system with a wonder that God pervades all of them. That is what I found. But our difficulty is that one good system corrupts. We live unnatural and artificial lives. We all appear to be something that we are not. We look happy, cheerful, at least most of us. But who knows what we are inside, where no one can see us. Most of us are composed of volcanoes, seething inside, ready to burst at a moment's notice. Modern living conditions all go towards such a makeup of man. So what should we do? We should think of the modern world as a trial to help us to awaken us from a mentally depraved mankind. To rectify this unnatural state of affairs, my master has said that it can be done by a proper type of meditation. We must try to become natural. Normally, every struggle to become natural makes us only more unnatural. If you try to untie a knot, you only make more knots. To ask you to get back to nature, original nature, is a great call indeed. I can understand why this system by this great master is to make everyone get back to naturality. What it means is the original condition from which we have come down and got involved in the grossness. The theory is that we have an original condition of peace and equilibrium, but some moments have pulled or taken us away from that state of Shanti. We have been thinking that this state of non-peace and non-equanimity is the real state. This has come about from our experience of the variegated phenomena of this world in which we live, a world full of objects of enjoyment, supposedly created for man's enjoyment, a world of beautiful things to be acquired, beautiful women with their vices, handsome men with their weaknesses, that all this is for man's enjoyment. Yes, it is a magnificent world, but then why should it be mixed with so much evil, so much corruption, so much misery? This question is unanswerable. Why there should be so much misery and ills? The great writer Somerset Maugham has asked this question. So have others. I don't think anybody has an answer to the sins, the ills, the injustices, the torture of the human spirit, even at the lowest strata of mankind. Man cutting man, man robbing man, all this we see clearly. Would you consider that this is the state of nature? You may remember Hobbes' definition that man is red, tooth and claw. He is in perpetual conflict with nature, and his existence is one long tale of suffering, misery, violence, hate, and passions. The least that is to be achieved is a rationality under which men will at least not kill each other. All these experiments in human associations have been made and are continuing to be made. But the psychologist will tell you where we have got to, or rather where we have not got to. India has ever been the land of dharma, of right conduct, of right action. Dharma is the Indian way of life. It meant, in a word, regulation, and so meant our safety. That is what Sanatana Dharma has given to us, the safety of self-regulation. We may still be maladjusted, ill-disciplined, but there was in a total way this dharma, this self-regulation, which helped us to live peacefully and grow with a little amount of happiness. If you can share with Thoru the idea of living with nature, you might be able to see how nature is capable of being molded to our needs for growth and development. So we have a higher nature, each one of us. It is to this, the Atma, that we have to address ourselves to. Please note that no cliches are to be bred. Our connection should be sought to be established directly only with reality, the ultimate reality. I use the word Atma not in its philosophical sense. In fact, I would rather say higher nature, ourself, for Atman. It demands harmony, a peace which life in society and in this body hardly provides. Back of you all, when alone, when thrown upon yourself, you find yourself isolated. Your real nature comes out. How can I improve this self? How can I add to the quantum of this self and diminish the attention to lower self? Be prepared to die for this or that or the other. What is it he wants you to do? Surrender. Let it be for a great cause. Surrender to an extraneous cause is no use. It cannot help us. That has been amply proved. Then what? Can you die? And everybody must die. All must die. Why not make use of it? Put this body to the use of dharma, of swadharma, for nature. Who am I? The problem is, what is that which is myself, which I have got to know? In this search, it is better to be objective rather than subjective. For you are your own object. You are not that now. You have to grow into it. Tell yourself, I shall not spend all the 24 hours in looking after this body. It is only an instrument. Sharira madhyam kalu dharma sadhan. That means the body is only an instrument. All look after the body, do. But you're not doing even that properly. It is also unconscious. The material is nature. How to come to terms with it unless you see true and original nature, the creator of the organic body? This is the concept of original reality, which is called as Tam by Sri Ramchandra. That or Tam is not a Hindu abbreviation of Tamas. It is Tam, that or the object, the second accusative case of Saha, and precisely that is Tattvamasi, the object. If you know the object, then identify with it. Then you begin to draw the sustenance of the source. Tattvamasi is more important than Sohamasmi. But let that be. We are not concerned with that now. But remember one thing. Sohasmi is ancient. But just because it is ancient, it is not true. And just because something is modern, it is not false. You must be led to divinization of your nature. If you reach this, then everything follows. You can develop a philosophy if you want. You can have an experience. But for Sri Ramchandraji, it is a reality, a most natural and outstanding reality. It is that which makes us most natural, most divinely natural. Now, some of you may ask, is it a philosophical arrival at this truth? How do you expect us to come into this contact with that reality? It is a question that has to be asked. We know of the Christian concept of the sinner. Man is born in sin. So they have baptisms and other things as well. That is the first thing. Now, most of us here are under another cosmic illusion, under Maya. Everything is Maya, we say. In this illusion, all problems are solved. I don't say my ignorance covers me, ease me, etc. I don't. How am I eligible? I can't get rid of this world. It is too much with me. That is what we say. But if people are in sorrow and misery, I suggest you like sorrow and misery and all the others that go with them. I say, if it is there, you like sorrow and misery, and so they are with you. That is what I suggest. Even sorrow is pleasant. Whether this is sadism or masochism is not, it need not concern us. All that matters is you take delight in it. Mankind is not willing to give up its sorrows and miseries and even to have an idea of the higher. How can religion help in overcoming this obsession for these things? Religion has created idols or ideas. The mentals worship ideas, other worship systems, Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, etc. Concepts have become opaque to our understanding. Idol worship is no worse. We have any number of idols. Sri Krishna has said, in whatever way you worship me, in that way I shall come to you. To gopis a lover, to warriors a warrior, to saints a saint. So you could remain what you are, but while all this is all right, have you known that gamut of experience that Sri Krishna was? As Badarayana says, you must know me in the transcendent form. Janmadyasya yataha. You must know the history of the great Leela of God in all his manifestation, as the Antaryami, as the Virat in all. Have you penetrated the idols? We can have idols, all idols, but they are not amenable to experience. The real nature is the transcendent, which alone can give meaning and reality to our existence. Idols can be smashed to pieces. Our conquerors have proved this to us. You may say you can put new idols in their place, but then we also know that all material things have to go. If not today, tomorrow, or the day after. Even cosmic personalities like Brahma also have to go. So what remains? Only the cosmic spirit. Who can connect me directly with that cosmic spirit? Because out of that connection alone, there is yoga. That is what yoga means. Connection with the ultimate, the thumb. Anything less is of no use to us. Sri Aurobindo, if I may humbly state, fell into that error. During my study of his system, I found the weaknesses of the system. Sri Aurobindo stated that supermind alone can be connected with you. That is a vyuha form and not the para form. That is what he meant. He thought the body will be torn away if connected to the ultimate. Now, of course, there is something in that. We all know the story of Bhagirath. He wanted to bring Ganga down to the earth. He went and prayed to her to come down to the earth. She agreed, but said that if she came down by herself, the world would be utterly destroyed by her very descent. Therefore, he had to find somebody to bear her and transmit her down to the earth. So he prayed to Shiva. And we all know the story of how Shiva bore her descent on his matted locks and led her down to the earth. Therefore, Shiva is taken or represented as the first guru, as in the Ramayana. Shiva rolled up Ganga and flowed her down through his hair. Sri Ramchandraji profoundly told me that thumb can come. What it had made, it cannot destroy. And what it had made, it can perfect. So don't be afraid. If it could be done once, it is possible again and again. This connection is made possible in the system known as Sri Ramchandra's Rajayoga. By thumb alone, can you reach the thumb? Nothing less than the force of the Guru can help. God can be known only through himself. He cannot be known through anything less. He cannot be known through any intermediary. I give them my own body. That is what he says. Not only do I choose the man, but having drawn him, I give myself unto him. That is what is meant by grace. It is a much hackneyed word. It is a modern cliche. But grace is not merely some kind of mercy. It is a real transforming force, as a Christian mystic put it. It is a real force that is put into your body, which takes you up to the ungrown of the Bohme, the dark infinite. Well, that is the way. No human being can do that point alone. That experience is of such tremendous impact that every cell and atom of your being gets transformed and charged into the movement of that ultimate vibration. I can testify to that experience in my own humble life. In Sri Ramchandra's Rajayoga, the transmission of the master makes divine nature our own nature. Our humanity does not get abolished, but it functions as the instrument and organ of higher consciousness. It becomes dynamic without parallel. That is why this system is much more significant. To my mind, other systems put the cart before the horse. They talk of vices. How am I to be saved from them? I am unfit. That is what the other systems make man say. They make us vice and misery conscious. But about the Abhyasi, God knows. It is for him to judge. You shall not be the measure of your own adhikara. We want to appear to be what we are not. The sinner wears his sin to prevent God from coming to him. So also a worldly man. He wears his possessions and worldliness to prevent God from coming to him. We say, let me see if I can increase our wealth. My master has been able to pick his men from all strata of society. I say pick, even though it seems to us that we walk in. When we contact him, then a direct relationship after a preliminary cleaning with the divine is effected. Therefore, you are taken care of fully. Your cooperation is needed only to permit your transformation. You see, conscious obstruction is easy to handle. But the real difficulty is with unconscious opposition. It is possible to have unconscious opposition even though there is conscious acceptance. But once transmission is given by the master, sooner or later, it will penetrate and disperse the ignorance and tamas of the Abhyasi. I say this in the presence of the master. It is a sahaja because it is simple. It is sahaja because it is natural, divine, divinely natural in the human existence. Divine man appears to be unnatural, and so we have martyred some of our greatest masters. Psychologists will say that such great people are monstrous mutants, and so they were destroyed. But to know the Supreme is to be the most natural. Swami Vivekananda said, Indian religion is distinguished from Western religions by the emphasis on liberation from lower functions of nature. Westerners have never been anxious for liberation. They know only one way, the way of liberty, equality, and fraternity, the great slogan of the French Revolution. But we find that this is irreconcilable in the modern concept of practical democracy. In such a democracy, liberty is impossible. Equality has produced more inequality. The great slogan of French Revolution, but we find that this is irreconcilable in the modern concept of practical democracy. In such a democracy, liberty is impossible. Equality has produced more inequality. Inequality was there always, but in Varnashrama, there was organized inequality. In the modern context, there is only chaos. Liberty is a precarious suicidal state. Everybody wants liberty. Fascism, anarchism, Catholicism, all are agreed on this. To suppress liberty and call it liberty. That is our paradox. Our master says liberation is possible even when you are in this body. This is in a sense an answer to Vishishta Advaitins who talk of Videha Mukti, in the sense that liberation is possible only after death and not during life. Then we have the Advaita concept of Jivana Mukti. But here the soul is free but bound by the body with its prarabdha and sanchita karmas. Now my master tells me that liberation is possible and absolute even in this body. It combines two things. Your function in the physical body with a higher spiritual function. There is no prarabdha and you can feel the liberation even now. When you teach thumb, you can live in this body with freedom. When you reach thumb, you can live in this body with freedom. Even the body offers no limitation or impediment. Sri Aurobindo's statement that we will have a perpetual body is not included here. Please note that. But by practice, a natural growth is made possible and peace gets established. You feel evolved into higher nature. This system of pranahuti, by injecting the supreme force, the supreme presence, the activity of the very divine himself, achieves this. I have told you a little of my autobiography. I have told you some of the philosophy and metaphysics of the system. I have also asked you to practice it. You can build up this by striving to attain to this. Please try to be a rishi, a divinized one with happiness and divine existence. All of you can do this. So this is a very motivating talk. Human being has the capacity to, go back in time and go back and live in the consciousness of great people, and then that will have a very powerful and transforming effect. I mean, by merely listening to the talk and then imagining ourselves as if you're in that meeting in Allahabad or in September 55, we can move there and think that Dr. KCV is giving the talk, Babuji is sitting, and we can relive that experience actually. And then that can be very, very transformative. Anything else, Dharmesh? There's nothing to comment because it's so easy. I mean, it's all straightforward. There's no difficulty in understanding this talk.
No, just trying to understand. There were a lot of new words also. Just one thing I was, the clarification that he gives that tamas is not tam, right? I think there was this discussion sometime
back. That is straightforward. No, when we are talking of matter, Prakriti is composed of sattva, rajas and tamas. Sattva is balance, tamas is activity, tamas is inactivity, rajas is activity. So that is a composition of the nature of Prakriti, which is present in all atoms, in all human beings, in all living and non-living things. It is brilliantly active, very, very, very fast in the human mind, actually. But Tam is talking is the Purusha, actually. You can think of God or as Tam. That is the Tam is talking. That should not be, you should not confuse that Tam which is talking of Tattvamasi or the Brahman or the Purusha or, Zat or whatever word you use. You should not confuse that with the tamas which is present in the mind or which is, predominant in inorganic matter, which is, solidity or, that's the thing. So that's very clear cut. I mean, that should happen. He is himself trying to clarify. No? You should not confuse that tam with the gunas. The gunas means the technical term in yoga and Sankhya is sattva, rajas and tamas. Those are called the gunas. And it's all the play of gunas, that's all. Like I am composed of these gunas, including my body and physical structure. And then the air in between and the computer is also composed of gunas. And I'm talking to you, you are also composed of gunas. There is just an interplay of gunas, that's all. There's all the thoughts in the past, present and future, which have been created in the human mind since time immemorial, they are nothing but a play of gunas. So what thoughts are arising in you, what thoughts are arising in me, which have arisen in my past life or earlier lives or future lives, it is nothing but a change of this sattva, raja and tamaguna only. So it's nothing but, and they have no, the change is the dharma. I mean, it is the truth about Prakriti's change. And the tragedy of human existence is humanity tries to find steady happiness in a changeable thing, that's the tragedy. Whereas the divine light without luminosity, which is Sanatana, which is eternal, which is Purusha, which is unchanging. And if you dwell in that balanced state, then you are truly happy. So it's a very, the power of Maya is so powerful. Man powerfully believes that he can find happiness in property, wealth, name and fame and recognition, whatnot. And these are all changeable things because they're all composed of gunas only. So the very famous Bhagavad Gita shloka is there, Tattvavit. I mean, Tattvavit means the person who has got wisdom. He knows that it is just a play of gunas. So his body, whatever thoughts are arising, he does not identify himself with those thoughts. So, and then other people are also composed of these thoughts. So he just withdraws and watches the whole game from a state of balance, actually. So it's a very significant, it comes in the, I think, the third chapter, 27 shloka or something. If that is understood, then you have mastered yoga, actually. The whole problem is we identify ourselves with our thoughts. Actually, we are different from our thoughts. Thoughts come and go, but we are the drashta behind it. We are the seer behind it. So drashta, when he does not identify with the thoughts and the body, automatically he will, the only thing left behind is God himself. That is his true divine nature himself. So he'll be resting in his true divine nature, which is balance. That's all. I mean, you're liberated if that understanding becomes very clear to you. You know that thing very clear in your bones, then it's realization. The problem here is, which Sir has repeatedly tried to do, tried to drill it in our minds, is that is why when you're introducing anybody, it's a very, very sacred phenomena. And the trainer has to do a lot of, he has to be in his most purified and highest stage of his consciousness. And he has to be in such prayer that he's totally in Layavastha with revered Babuji's consciousness. And then if he introduces, then only this magic will happen. That's why he used to take papers. He said, this fellow is not introduced properly. Then he used to pray himself. So he tried very hard to see that the trainers live in that pure consciousness, which probably takes time for that idea to percolate in people's mind, because unfortunately human mind has become very, very gross. And I'll just tell you one thing. I every day read some of the letters of Babuji. Just today morning I was going through. I'll just read this for you. This is an extract from a letter written by Babuji to somebody. So he writes to one of the Abhyasi. He says, inverted commas, I feel that you are growing lighter day by day internally. But unless this affects the daily routine of your life, spirituality is of no use. For this, a good deal of labor, tolerance, and devotion are necessary. There is no limit to it. One who digs his own grave in his own self is a man reckoned ultimately to be a big personality. What is the way? Think on this yourself. That means he says, if you're doing meditation and those effects are not seen in the daily routine of your life, spirituality is of no use. And he says, for this, good deal of labor, tolerance, and devotion are necessary. So all Abhyasis and particularly trainers have to put in a lot of labor to see that you own the condition. That is molding. One of the first seminars Sir did was molding is molding. So molding requires, because as you know, our perceptions and assumptions which we have about our world, about our own self, the tendency of human mind is to overvaluate ourselves, and tendency of the ego is not to find our own mistakes at all. It does not want to see into the mistakes. It wants to see mistakes in the other person. That's a very powerfully, you don't even know that you're being duped by your ego. It will not allow you to see your mistakes, and it only sees the mistakes of the others. So that is all grounded in the neural networks in the brain. And if you want to unlearn those and change your perceptions to try to feel the presence of Master in all human beings, know all people as their brethren and treat them as such, the unlearning means there will be a lot of neural networks have to be changed, and that requires tremendous energy expenditure by the brain, which finds it's very toilsome. It's not interest. So it carries on with its old ways of thinking, because it has served a purpose. It has helped them to live a comfortable life in this world. So, but to change all those assumptions and perceptions requires tremendous energy, and which his brain is not willing to put it. That's why spirituality molding is an effortful process, actually. And that is where the trainer comes in. He, by giving proper suggestions, by cleaning, he makes the brain undertake that effect to, change the perceptions and all that. Because it's a costly process for the brain it has to put in a lot of energy to change the software inside. But there the trainer can clean it and then give proper suggestions, strengthen those suggestions. As I told you that the theory of multiple personalities in your unconscious mind, where, lot of debates happen, and finally whoever wins, he gains the attention of your conscious mind. So the trainer tries to strengthen your qualities of bhakti, strengthen the qualities of dana, and then truthfulness, and then compassion. So then with all those factors, you'll be able to meditate much better. And as your mind gets absorbed in the divine, the transformation takes place. So it's a lot of effort is involved, and that we have to tell our friends and all people who are meditating that it's not the simply 1 hour of practice in the morning, half an hour in the evening will not do much at all. You have to develop feeling of love and devotion. Without that, results will not come. Okay, anything else?
Anyone? Questions?
So we'll meet next Sunday then.